What's up, gang? How you guys doing? Want to start off this podcast by saying Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Merry Christmas to all you out there. Hopefully, you guys have exceeded all of your own expectations this year, and have gotten the most out of everything that you have wanted, and most importantly, during these Christmas holidays, despite whatever it means to you. Okay, hopefully this day gives you blessings, family, and enjoyment and enlightenment, man. Enlightenment. So we're gonna get started with this podcast today. And before we get started, I just want to tell you guys, I am Lieutenant Sound Blue, 28-year law enforcement veteran, and the author of the top 25 mistakes en route to the good life. And I'm coming at you with episode 199. 199th episode of my daily podcast. That's right, every single day I'm coming at you guys talking about things from my book, Top 25 Mistakes en route to the Good Life, as well as the mistakes that I see people make each and every day. So every day I'm investigating, I'm reading, I'm observing, and I'm trying to grow as best as possible, okay? And in order to bring you guys the most innovative, upfront, current issues and things that we are dealing with to help you to navigate life right now, so that you can have the life that you want in the future. So speaking of that, guys, speaking of having the life that you want in the future, today's podcast question is, what is your end game? That's right, what is your end game? What are your plans? What are your plans for your end game, man? It is so easy to talk about all the goals and dreams and aspirations that you want, man. It is so easy to talk about all of that. But when it comes down to it, man, you gotta have an end game plan. You just can't go through life with tons of goals, dreams, and aspirations, okay, with plans on making them to come true without an end game, guys. You gotta have an end game. So I'm sure all of you know by now, right, that in order to have a good life, right, I'm looking extraordinary, but in order to have just a good life, you can't just rely on hope and luck, right? Hope and luck aren't going to get it, man. The hope and luck method, I've seen so many people bank on this method as their only plan for success. Hope and luck. Just think about that, right? Think about all the anxiety that's built up inside of you when all you can bank on is hope and luck, right? You throw out a bunch of prayers there, you throw a couple of dices, hopefully you don't get snake eyes and crap out all of your efforts, right? Hope and luck. A lot of people live like that every day. As a matter of fact, the majority of people live on hope and luck. That's right, hope and luck, waiting for somebody else to come along and get their life together. And it's not going to happen, man. If you are going to have a good life, you must plan. You must have a plan in place, right? You gotta have a plan in place, guys. And that plan, right, it may be comprised of, a few goals, right? A few goals, man, a couple of dreams that you've had, and maybe a sprinkle of desires, right, that come to you as your world expands outside of your current circle, right? So when you're in your current group of circle, you know how you guys echo chamber with each other and you say some of the same stuff all of the time, right? And you never seem to be able to get out of that loop. You know, I talked about that in one of my podcasts when I was talking about the Matrix. And you get stuck in that loop and you talk about the same thing. Well, every now and then you get to meet someone new and they pull you out of that circle and you get to expand, and then you see some other things that you may like to add to your life, right? So you have to have a plan for all that. Hopefully your plan has all of those things in it, right? And that's important. Anybody who is semi-ambitious, at least they have a plan for their goals, right? Now, when someone tells me this, right, that they have a plan for their future, I often ask them this question. right? And that's the question that I started you guys with. What is your end game here? Right? I asked him, what is your end game? You have a plan, but what is your end game? And this is comprised of a whole lot, guys. It doesn't comprise of you saying, my end game is to have a lot of money. My end game is to have $1 million in my bank account. My end game, I get all of that. I get all of that. But the end game is comprised of, at what point in time will you feel that you have achieved the success that you mapped out for yourself? And will that success that you mapped out for yourself be enough for you when you reach that point to stop and stay steady, right? And to perfect your craft right where you're at. Just perfect it, right? So a lot of people, they don't think that through. They don't think that through because most of us, man, we are built on emotions, and we strive on emotions, and we continue through on emotions, man. So I tell you guys, if you don't know what success means to you at the end of your journey, then there's probably a good chance that when you reach that point in your journey, you may not be happy with what you have. So just think about that, right? When I talk about end game and success, and like I said, what it means to you and whether you're willing to be happy with the point that you reach, most people are not happy when they reach that final moment. You know, many years ago, well before law enforcement, I had a goal of, my goal was $50,000 a year, right? And so it was when I reached that $50,000 a year, I was successful. I just felt that was, to me, was successful. And that is what was going on in my current circle, right? We were echo chambering each other. None of us had money. $50,000 seemed like a lot of money at that time. Now, mind you, that was well over 30 years ago, right? 30, almost 40 years ago, that I was talking that. And so when I finally reached $50,000 in society, $50,000 meant absolutely nothing when it came to success, right? It definitely didn't make me rich. You know, it made me very good at trading my time for money, but it did not give me the satisfaction that I wanted, right? So I didn't foresee the future. I didn't foresee changes. I didn't foresee inflation and all of the other factors that add into you having a certain amount of money and being happy with that and being able to live your life the way you want. I didn't see all of that. So because I didn't see all that, when I reached that moment of $50,000, the happiness that I thought I was going to have was not there, guys. So remember that when it comes to understanding your end game. Because you see, we're making a plan for success, guys. The ending is everything. The ending is everything. That's right, guys. And so you have to plan all the way to the end. All the way to the end. And you have to take into account, right, and this is important, you have to take into account all the possible consequences, obstacles, and any twist in fortune, right, that might reverse all of the hard work that you have been putting in. So you got to take into account all of those things. And for me, I was relying on myself and my circle of friends who none of them were successful anyway. So me relying on them to know my end game was an extremely bad idea, right? Extremely bad idea. And believe it or not, that is just one of the reasons why my Top 25 Mistakes Facebook group is full of second halfers who help first halfers to achieve, you know, the life that they want faster, and to avoid some of the mistakes, man, to give you a guideline of how you can get there faster, right? You can choose to take the local route to get there, which was what I was doing, which was making tons of mistakes, or you can take the expressway and get there a whole lot faster, man. So it is up to you, man. And I tell everybody, take the expressway, because none of us know how much time we have remaining, right? None of us know what tomorrow brings. And because none of us know what tomorrow brings, we have to achieve the success we want at a much more rapid pace so we can affect that much more people, right? When you reach success, it is about affecting people in a positive way. And I want as many people as possible to get there as fast as they can. So that is very, very important, man. You gotta plan all the way to the end, right? Now, when you're planning to the end, right? What you do is you reduce your chances of being overwhelmed, right? We all get overwhelmed by circumstances. But when you have a plan to the end and you're planning on the obstacles that come your way, the twist of fortunes that may happen, right? The illnesses, the sicknesses, the family deaths, whatever it is, you planning for all of that all the way through, okay, they don't throw you off, right? They don't throw you off. And so then you're not overwhelmed by the circumstances because you've already thought them through. And guys, that is probably one of the biggest reasons why most people don't succeed. They don't succeed because obstacles and circumstances, man, they dig up in your emotions, bro. They dig up in your emotions and they cause you to veer off course. Right? You're driving down the highway and it is a beautiful winter day, right? Maybe some snow is falling and it's just you and the highway and you're just relaxing and listening to some nice music, and all of a sudden, right, a deer runs out in the road. You veer off. That's an obstacle, right? You veer off the road, you go out of control, now you're in the bushes somewhere, and now a beautiful ride turns into a nightmare. Okay, a beautiful ride turns into something crazy. So you got to understand that, man. A prime example of this, I think that if I can put it all in perspective, a prime example of this are some of the world's greatest conquerors, right? You know, Napoleon and all of those great conquerors. All of those guys eventually fell from power due to their hunger for more, right? They had a hunger for more. And the reason why they had a hunger for more is because they didn't have a clear vision of the end, right? A clear vision of how they were going to feel at the end, what would be the last thing they conquered, and would that be enough, right? Would that be enough? No. They didn't have a end game because their end game was to completely, continually conquer and conquer and conquer until they couldn't conquer anymore, which is no end game, right? There's no end game. You keep going. You keep going until you begin to lose. That was their end game. So these men never knew when to come off the attack. They were always on the attack. And the reason why, once again, I told you, is because they had no end goal of what would satisfy their need for power. See, when a lot of people, when they're in power, it's just like people who have tons of money. They always have the desire to want more, a hunger for more. It is always like the game of having more than what you have. And that is most of us by nature, right? We always want more than what we have. And when we achieve something and we see somebody else with something, we want that too, right? And so a lot of people go through life, right, with no end goal. So they're never truly satisfied with what they have because they're constantly trying to get more, trying to achieve more, trying to gain more and gather more. And that hunger eventually drives you to your decline, right? It drives you to the decline. And what these leaders failed to do in these circumstances, these great conquerors have failed, what they failed to do is exactly what most people do when it comes to their goals, right? They fail to aim for a goal, right? The conquerors, people, me, you, everybody out there, we do this a lot, right? They fail to aim for a goal and keep to it once they hit it, right? So back then, if my goal was $50,000, right, then that should have been the mark that I shot for. Once I hit it, I should have been happy with what I hit as far as a goal is concerned. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't try to gain more money. I shouldn't try to gain more wealth. I shouldn't try to gain more in my life. I'm not saying that any of you should try to do that. I'm saying that choose a goal so big, right, that it is something that you're going for, maybe for your lifetime, right? Just make it so big, right? And probably need to be way bigger than you currently have it, because you're probably afraid to shoot even bigger. You're probably afraid to go for those tremendous, spectacular goals, because it's going to require so much work, so much time, and so much effort. And a lot of people are afraid to put in those three things: work, time, and effort. A lot of people are way too lazy to do it. So you have to choose your goal and aim for it, and put everything in the perspective of what it's going to take for you to work up to that goal. That is so important. Now, most people that I have observed, right, in my 28 years of law enforcement and then some, most people I observed is when they have triumphed, right, in conquering whatever, a certain goal, whatever they're trying to do, some type of obstacle or some person or some group, right? What they have is, in that triumph, once they have triumphed and conquered that goal, they continually go, right? And they go too far, right? So they conquered that, and then they see something a little bit further out, and they want to conquer that too, and they reach that, barely making it, maybe because they didn't have a plan to get that as well. So then they see something a little further out, and they want to extend themselves even more and try to conquer that as well, right? And so when you do that, you may have had a plan for the first thing, right? And the second thing was an ad lib, because you saw it from the peak of the first goal, right? And now you see the third goal, and now you're trying to reach out to the third goal. It's almost like trying to climb, right? What's the highest mountain in the world? Whatever. I'm gonna say Mount Olympus, but that's not it. But trying to climb the Alps, right, without having a plan to reach all the way up to the top. You just had a plan to climb phase 1. You didn't have a plan to climb all the way to the top of the mountain. So when you reached phase 1 and you were happy, and you realized it was another group going to phase 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, you began to overextend yourself. So you didn't have supplies, you didn't have preparation, you weren't mentally prepared, and now you're way out there with no way to come back, which is usually a bad sign for you, man. It usually ends with a lot of people not making it back at all. So you gotta plan for the future, right? And the problem is, when you overextend yourself, that creates a lot of times the opposite reaction of what you wanted to get, and this eventually leads to your decline, leads to you losing, leads to you reversing all the hard work that you put in. So understand that you have to have a plan for your future. Now, although, guys, the smartest planning that you can do in life is for the long run. It is for the long run. You have to plan for the marathon. And the reason why I say this is because you got to have a lot of energy, you got to have a lot of stamina, okay? And you have to be able to predict tons of obstacles. And you also have to predict, like, man, what if I could knock back 10 years, right? What steps am I going to take if I could knock back 10 years to speed up the process of what I was doing before to catch back up to where I was at, right? You know, things like that. What if I have an illness? What if I have a death in the family? What if I lose all my money? What if somebody steals all my money, right? What if somebody takes all the credit for all the work that I did and I have to start with an entire new project? You got to think of all those things when it comes to, okay, really reaching and trying to achieve a goal all the way to the end. And the reason why I say this, guys, is because our emotions far too often force us to become victims of our fate, right? Our emotions cause us to become victims of our fate, and what we do is we find ourselves trapped in the moment of our emotions, and now we're unable to see beyond the immediate danger, right? So because we are so emotional creatures, and most of us only act because of emotion, right? What we do is we find ourselves jumping out there, sometimes because of a dare, sometimes because of to impress somebody, or sometimes we just jump out there because we're emotionally hurt, right? So we just want to call ourselves moving forward, and that causes us to not see the obstacles that are in our way, and now we place ourselves in that immediate danger because we can't see beyond that, right? We can't see beyond what's in front of us when we're dealing with emotion. So guys, listen to me. If you want to live your life far above the masses, right? You can't be out there living like everybody else. I want you to live far above the masses. You must be able to look beyond the present, what's going on right now, and plan several steps ahead. Now, I know the other day that I talked to you about how you can master your life and how you can manage 24 hours, right? But once you master your 24 hours and you know what you got to do for your 24 hours every single day, then you have to plan for the future. And your future is the end game. You have to plan for the end game. So every day, man, I'm working on my end game. I'm working in the present for everything that I have to do, but I'm also working on my end game. How am I going to end it? What is my final shot that I'm going to shoot, right? If I make it to my final shot. If I don't make it to my final shot, then guess what? I want to constantly, be in the process of creating and growing and working toward that final shot with all of the plans laid out and all the obstacles laid out ahead of time. That is how you have a masterful life, guys. And you really, really want to work at having a masterful life, because at the end, there are only two things, okay? Satisfaction and regret. Satisfied that you have put in all the work that you could possibly put in to bring as much value to as many people as possible, okay? To leave a legacy to your family, to your children, to society. And then there's regret, right? There's regret. And regret that you didn't do none of those things, okay? So you don't want to be living a life like that, full of regret. So far too often, man, we treat life like a game of checkers, right? We treat life like a game of checkers, and we are always shooting for the quick win. We're always shooting for the quick win, and when we get that quick win, we get down there, we get the queen, and we're so excited. We only realize after the quick win, we find out that there is far more game left to be played, right? We're running around playing checkers, and life is about chess, man. Life is about planning and being 10 steps ahead of the masses, 20 steps ahead of the masses. In order to live an extraordinary life, you cannot get ahead of the masses if you're not planning for it, guys. It is just not going to happen, right? You gotta plan for for being ahead of the masses, and it is the end game, guys. It is the end game that determines who gets the prize. The person with the proper plan toward the end game is the person that gets the prize in the end, right? Everybody's not going to get a prize. There are going to be way more people, dying with regret than there will be people dying, with the satisfaction of living a life on their terms, and doing what they felt they needed to do for society. So, in life, your conclusion, it has to be crystal clear. I think that you should spend every single day of your life, getting crystal clear on exactly what your end game should be, exactly what you want out of life, to the smallest detail. You need to be crystal clear, and you must keep in mind constantly, okay, what that idea of a crystal clear lifestyle is, right? Of success. What does success exactly mean to you? And it should be written everywhere. Written on your visor, in your car window, right? Written on the mirror as you brush your teeth in the morning. In your wallet, every time you open your wallet, it should be there on a note card, something. You always have to have that in the front of your mind, because that needs to be the only thing that drives your entire life, is that success goal, that crystal clear success goal. And it should be comprised of whatever you need, whatever you feel is successful for you, whether it's family, whether it's money, whether it's notoriety, whether it's health, whatever it is, it needs to be in the front of your mind. Now, when you begin to see several steps ahead and plan your moves all the way to the end, guys, you will no longer be tripped up by emotion, right? You will no longer be tripped up by emotion or by desire to change along the way, improvise. You know, when you have a plan and you're seeing it through to the end, things are always going to come about. Things are always going to get in your way. Things are always going to hit you where they hurt the most. But when you have a crystal clear plan, you already planned that things are going to get in your way, and you know that it's maybe 2 steps to the right, and then you'll go to proceed forward again. You know that you have to have 2 steps back to let the aggression, okay, lose some momentum, and then you step up again. You know all of the steps you're going to need to take in order to reach your end goal, guys. So it is your clarity. It is your clarity that you will have towards your goal that will rid your life from anxiety. A lot of people have anxiety because they lack clarity, right? But when you have clarity, it is going to be the reason why, okay, you win and most people fail. It is that clarity of your end game and your end goal that will help you to have the life that you want. So you will be able to continue throughout your course of action all the way to its conclusion, while most people will probably quit, back off, or run in the other direction, man. So understand that, man. As long as your vision is clear, okay, you will see the ending, guys. You will see the ending. So that's it for today, man. I'm gonna wrap up this Christmas podcast, and I'm gonna wrap it up with telling you guys that make sure that you hop on over to lieutenantsalblue.com, pick up your copy of my book, Top 25 Mistakes and Routes to the Good Life. When you get my copy, I got a bunch of other bonuses that I'm giving away on my site, right? If you have any issues with that, you can also, if you want, you can buy my book on Amazon for $19.95 as well, okay? But I have tons of additional bonuses when you get them at my site instead. So hop on over to lieutenantsalblue.com and pick up your copy today. Okay, Merry Christmas. You can give them away for Christmas presents. You can give them away for New Year's presents. Okay, either way, this is the type of book that when you give it to somebody, okay, you tell them to write in the margins, it is life changing. This is life changing mistakes that will help you to turn your life around, okay, or point you in the right direction and help you avoid as many mistakes as possible. So give me a comment, message in the comment, and tell me how you like my book when you get it. Send me a picture of you next to my book, and I'll send you even some more bonuses, right? If you have Audible, you can get my book for free on Audible as well, as long as you have an Audible account. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up for today. Make sure you guys DM me at lieutenantsalblue.com. That's LTSALBLUE. .com is the website, and Lieutenant Sal Blue for all my messages, man. You guys have a fantastic Merry Christmas, okay? And I will talk to you guys tomorrow, December 26th, episode 200. Yes. All right. Deuces, man. You guys have a great Christmas. Enjoy.